And welcome to the second installment of Freedom Radio. I'm your one and only host, L. Williams, and thanks for listening. So this is the only broadcast that brings you details of the 2014 Iron Sharpens Iron Summit Tour, where we're moving across the city and the nation, identifying change leaders that will help us put the pieces back together. So the 2014 Iron Sharpens Iron Summit is brought to you in part by the Transformational Leadership Conference, Freedom Initiative Pittsburgh, Freedom Consulting, and IERN WILL Educational Consulting. So we aren't looking to reinvent the wheel, of course, but we do believe that engineering design processes will provide a model to help us in the co-creation of an ecosystem that we can all thrive in. So speaking of thriving, speaking of ecosystems, we have an awesome team in the studio today that you'll get to see in just a second. But they kind of understand that engineering habits of mind are easily transferable into everything that we do. And most importantly, systems thinking, that everything kind of fits together. So by that, I mean recognizing the ways in which seemingly unconnected things have a common thread. In the body, that common thread is the blood and the brain, and that both nourishes and signals to other parts of the body. For our communities, it's often the educational opportunities that kind of determine what kind of industries flow into the communities or what opportunities are brought to that region in recognition of the quality innovators. And just the recognition, because even though we have less affluent neighborhoods, doesn't mean innovation doesn't happen there. It's just that quite often that recognition doesn't happen for those communities. But that's what the Iron Sharpens Iron Summit Tour is here to do. Make sure that we're recognizing those people in marginalized communities that are doing awesome things, but may not get that recognition. But fortunately, we have this dynamic duo here. And so for our planet, that common thread is often our natural resources, right? So I'm honored to be in the studio today with the team from the Land Art Generator Initiative. And let's see, I would be unable to give any real insight to the magnitude of the innovation that they're doing, because I kind of my nerdy sense went all the way up when I was able to kind of see all the work that these two were able to do. So I was able to kind of dig into the work that we have here. Elizabeth Manoyan and Robert Ferry are doing with the Land Art Generator Initiative. And as I was going through all the stuff that you were doing, I was just like, I've never been so excited about engineering in my life, almost, at least in the last 6 or 7 years. It's been a long time. My background, as I've explained, is chemical engineering, and jumping into chemical engineering, I was really excited about doing the green stuff, doing the noble stuff. It was like petroleum, energy, that's cool, but I clean. Can we do it in a clean way? And so I'm just not going to even, I'm not going to try to talk about it anymore. Just tell us, welcome. Welcome.
Thank you. It's an honor
awesome to be here.
Oh my goodness. It's so cool to have you in the studio. Tell us about your project.
Okay. We're so glad that you're bringing up the idea of flow in systems in our cities, because like you said, one of the most important things is educational and communication, but another really important thing, natural resources and energy. Energy is critical to making our economies function, and more, we're at a point now at the end of 200 years of fossil fuels that those fossil fuels are running out. At the same time, parts per million of carbon in the atmosphere are hitting 400. At 350 is a nice level. 340, 330 is where it was before the Industrial Revolution. If we go above 400, we're in for a bad situation. Mm-hmm. And it's not going to be good for any of us.
So what we're doing, on that note, 6 years ago, in 2008, we moved to Dubai, and immediately inspired by the landscape, we started a project called the Land Art Generator Initiative that you've introduced. And really, in a nutshell, what this project is bringing together interdisciplinary teams of artists, scientists, engineers, architects, landscape architects to imagine large-scale public artwork that generates utility-scale clean energy. So what we're asking for are aesthetic power plants, and we're asking for people to do this in an interdisciplinary way. We don't necessarily believe that an artist can go out and really pragmatically resolve the issues on their own. And we think engineers could use a lot of creative input. Otherwise, we wouldn't have the NIMBY response that we're having right now, the not in my backyard response to utilitarian wind turbines and solar panels, et cetera. So it really takes all of these people coming together to resolve these issues.
And there are polymaths out there who happen to be in engineering, but they're an artist at heart, or they happen to be an artist and they have a really mathematical brain, and this allows them to really meet all of those needs in their creative life through a project that unites both in one. And a little more background about society and energy. So obviously, we'll always have a need for utility scale 5 megawatt wind turbines to replace our excessive fossil fuel consumption. And we'll always have the need for large scale 100 megawatt solar installations in deserts to also accommodate the replacement and 100% renewable transition. But what we're going to also need is distributed energy generation, and that is possible because clean energy doesn't pollute. And you can have solar panels and wind turbines right on your house, around your house, in your parks, all over the city, but they have to be aesthetically understanding the nature of building in an urban environment, in a suburban environment, and they need to be responsive to the needs of the users. And the users are the people who live next door to them and consume that electricity. They can't just be utilitarian and forget about the fact that they are in a city. Buildings don't do that. Buildings are always understanding that they are a part of the constructed environment and have a responsibility to that, to raise the level of design in our community. Cool. And renewable energy infrastructure should do the same.
Cool. So what I'm hearing then is that we're making energy sexy, right? Is that energy?
Clean energy.
Clean energy sexy. That is awesome. That's because, right. As again, I'd like to say I'm an artist at heart, right? Engineers, design kind of go together. My favorite pastime. Yeah, absolutely. And, my favorite pastime is to color. I like coloring. I like playing at the park with my daughter, which kind of brings me to one of the coolest aspects that were given in the book. So there's this huge book that they have of all these designs. So tell me, these designs that I saw, how many of those designs were concepts and how many have actually been implemented, in different areas?
Thank you for this question. So what we've done to get these ideas is we've held 3 international design competitions. The first competition was for Dubai and Abu Dhabi in 2010. Then we took the competition to New York City for Fresh Kills Park, which is the former Fresh Kills landfill in New York City. Then for 2014, we took it to Copenhagen. We're just finishing up that competition. We can say now that we have over 600 design ideas that are awesome. And we can say that we're building our first land art generator here in Pittsburgh. And we are absolutely thrilled. We have the support of Heinz Endowments and Hillman Foundation. They've now released funds for the prototype stage, and that will be done this fall. And then we'll work towards the final construction for next summer.
Cool. So
that's right.
So most of what was there in those and what you've been able to present were designs, winning designs, and that were submitted through the competitions that you had. So this idea for competition, tell us where did this all come from? Why competition? How did the two? Was it just the two of you? Did you have a whole team that was like, this just has to happen? How did you come up with this?
Also, I love these questions. We we were sitting down brainstorming a project that we wanted to work on together that met our talents and skills. Rob's an architect and loves science. I'm an artist and designer, and we wanted to work on a project together. We're a married couple, and we love to work together.
Oh, married! Hey!
And our united passion
Yes.
besides each other is the environment.
This is our
cool.
baby. So we started the project and with no funding, no help, and we knew that we could design things, but we really wanted the whole world thinking about it. So we're just two people. If we design something, and even if it got built, well, that's one thing, but bringing great minds from around the world together to solve these issues seemed a little bit more powerful to us than just us sitting down in a vacuum designing.
And the open concept competition model is something that I'm quite familiar with as an architect. We architects love to enter competitions. Artists, not so much, and engineers
seem to.
starting also, and there's a long tradition for competitions in science too. But it really provided us with a great platform in which to gather so many ideas from so many people around the world, and the internet made it possible, obviously. But now we have a community of people who are land art generator participants, past participants, multiple participants enter every year, and they number in the thousands.
Cool.
With 600 submissions, each team is from 2 to 10 people. So
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Now, when we started the project, it was just the two of us. We had no money. Even when we launched the competition and we had announced that there would be $20,000 in prize money, we didn't have that money. So we were putting ourselves out there on a limb.
it's a little risky.
It was way risky.
Awesome.
but
Take those risks.
We really, really felt that if we did not take that risk, that if we shut the idea down, then it wouldn't happen. A person has to take risks.
Absolutely.
Calculated. We were sort of thinking, well, we both own houses in Pittsburgh and could do second mortgages, and we were sort of crunching the numbers. If we had to dig deep, how could we do that? Who do we borrow money from? Our parents, and
Right.
we don't have money.
And to us, the idea of incorporating renewable energy technology as a medium for public artworks and the mesh between land art and power plants just seemed like such a natural connection that somebody was going to do it sometime.
Yeah.
So it might as well be us.
Right.
We can just do it right now.
Right.
Cool.
So we did it, and it still really is predominantly the two of us. However, we've gotten in-kind support along the way, and we have gotten funding for both 2012 and 2014.
National Endowment for the Arts grant in 2012.
Yeah, and we have, for 2014, we have more of a team on the ground in Denmark, where we had always worked alone on the project. There are a couple people who have helped us along the way in Denmark, so we've been really grateful for people stepping in and helping more and more all the time, actually.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of, innovators and teams, I was fortunate to meet these two at an event that GPAC, Greater Pittsburgh Arts Council, that had hosted. And there will be a second one coming up on July 11th. But one of the things that were brought up for that team that we wanted to, that they wanted to address for Pittsburgh creatives was that there was a disconnect, or it seemed to be somewhat of a disconnect in certain communities, and they wanted to be able to make sure that we had the inclusion of Black and Brown communities within that whole creative design and everything that was happening in the art community and making the connections for different clusters in the community. So I have my own ideas that I'll share, but before I share, how do you think that the Land Art Generator Initiative can potentially pose some of those intersections or make those connections between the communities that need the inclusion that here in the city?
Well, we've been thinking a lot about this, and we've partnered with Homewood Renaissance Association, and as we get funding, the partnership will move ahead. I'm not sure if you know Free Blackwell over there running the Homewood Renaissance Association. She's an amazing young woman with a real vision for the neighborhood. And we'll be working with her, hopefully, to be bringing some workshops to the Homewood neighborhood, using her venues and her network to bring some of the workshops with a flashcard kit that we'll show you that we're working on. Cool. And we had actually really hoped to build one of sort of to have the wind nest project that we're building in Pittsburgh, we'd imagined it to be in multiple sites in Pittsburgh. And we love the idea of it being in the Homewood neighborhood, adjacent to the Homewood Renaissance Association. So we'll see if we can activate that. That's always funding dependent. But in the meantime, we'd really like to take these flashcards, this educational kit, out to all over Pittsburgh, all demographics. We really want to hit hard with these ideas of science, technology, engineering, art design, and math.
Cool.
So we're working hard on it right now.
While it is an international project in its capacity, we are a Pittsburgh-based nonprofit organization, and our heart is in the community here. And as we are working on the prototype for Wind Nest, we're going to share that information with the community. We're going to engage youth in understanding the connections between science and art, and we'll be doing that over the course of 2014, 2015.
Cool. So I guess can we jump right into tell me more about the Wind Nest? Is that the Pittsburgh initiative? So tell us more.
Yeah. Let me see if I can find that card. While I do that, let me just, I don't know if we're on the video here, but Paul Schifino Design has helped us with this kit, which is basically you have this book that comes with it.
Oh, that's going to be Paul. We're showing you a draft here.
Sorry, don't look at the binding paper. And,
still pretty sexy for energy, I have to tell you.
It's dual language, English-Danish, because we're going to be using this in educational outreach in Copenhagen also. But it gives you a background on the science of energy. It gives you some of the just very simple information that you'll need when you get to the cards. And the cards, this is Wind Nest.
As designed for Abu Dhabi.
Cool.
Yeah.
So tell us about the design, and then maybe about how we make the connection for the cards.
Yes, so the design uses compact acceleration wind turbines, which take a horizontal axis wind turbine and places it in a wind acceleration shroud that funnels the wind with a Venturi effect to create more force at the interface with the turbine rotor. And so each one of these contains a turbine, but it's visually concealed with this beautiful cloud object that floats above you. And you can stay underneath it and gaze up and look at these clouds which are generating energy. Also on the surface of the shroud, towards the top, are solar fabric panels. So that's also augmenting the electrical generation. The ground plane in the original design, the team, Trevor Lee and Claire Olson, they had imagined a habitat area because this was designed originally for a mangrove section of the beach in Abu Dhabi, where there's little lizards and bunnies, and they were providing a place for these critters. So in the new urban reconceptualization, this is going to be habitat for people, benches and other fun places to lounge and recreate underneath the clouds.
Nice.
So it'll look a little bit different than this in its final iteration, but it'll have the same concept to it. And so this card here, as you can see on the front of it, it asks you a question that assume the installation contains 200 wind turbines with a capacity factor of 25% and 1,000 square meters of photovoltaic surface, and etc. I'm not going to read the whole question. And then it asks you how much electricity would this create over the course of a year.
Cool.
And with all the information you have at hand, you can answer that question. And all the answers are on the back with all the math and a lot more about the project. So
that's very cool. So it's awesome to see that, there's a clear, education initiative happening here. Now, do you have, so this is the Homewood project, so working with the Homewood Renaissance, I think you said, right? So working with them, that will be kind of the initial, but what's your long-term plans on how, you can share this information with everybody? Are you going to make sure that this is in Abu Dhabi too, or?
So alongside the actual built object here in Pittsburgh, we will be doing a lot of outreach. And we are already networking with Pittsburgh Public Schools so that we can go into the school district and do workshops using these.
Nice.
We would love to connect to anyone, any organization, any institution locally who would like for us to come in and do a workshop, or these are free. We give all of our educational programming is free, so we can hand off 10 sets, 15 sets, whatever an organization wants, and then they can have them to do in-house programming.
How cool
or
is
we can
that?
come out. So educational outreach, it's really part of the mission. If we are reaching out in this global way, it has to remain free. We don't charge competition fees. The only thing that is an expense is the actual book that's put out by Prestel, because that's out of our hands. That's with the publisher.
Right.
Everything self-published, we put out into the world for free.
Cool. Oh my goodness. So it's just awesome. Philanthropists, architects, designers, all in one. So so here's my idea, right?
Yeah. Give it to us.
So I have been talking with a friend, Ella, who's actually doing, she has her installment over at New Hazlitt Theater, kind of had to do a plug, but we were chatting, and she was thinking about, having very much intentional kind of artistic playgrounds. So, and one of the designs that I did see in the book was, for playground structures. And so giving my idea of systems thinking and trying to show, youth that, and everybody else, that there's a connection to the brain, to the body. I figured it might be a very cool, maybe early education or elementary school kind of installment, and having different learning environments, so different units. So similar to the cards, each of the playgrounds are associated with a different learning unit, a different kind of section from, a longer aligned, bigger aligned kind of project. And so if we're talking about parts of the body, for instance, we have one playground that kind of looks like the brain or something, but somehow also does the whole, the energy generation that we need to make it, the sexy energy part, right?
Yeah.
Brain runs on electricity.
Exactly. So, making those connections, I think would be really, really cool. So I was so excited when I happened to see that.
Well, that project is really fun. And when you're talking about the body, it's so exciting because it's for the listeners, it's playground equipment. It was designed by a group of University of Oregon students, actually.
Power Play.
And it's called Power Play, and it utilizes kinetic energy. So it's the movement of the children.
Yeah.
So it's a direct understanding of what their body can do.
Yeah.
Right?
Awesome.
It's immediately embodied understanding of energy.
Basically converting apples and Cheerios into electricity.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, they need to have that understanding that, that everything that really, and I mean, it makes it kind of makes this further connection of holistic engineering education, which is definitely my push, is that, everything that you take in, what you take in is what you put out, and I think that could definitely be a really awesome way of exhibiting that, because of this idea of energy generation in the body and connecting to the planet, and and it's really necessary to be able to show the interconnectedness, which I know each of you are kind of dedicated that within the work that you do, this idea of interconnectedness, because too often I think we don't see how much what we do affects the next person, and so this is why this project is just awesome in and of itself. But I'm really excited about the ideas of green play areas. So
yeah, and the other thing I'm just thinking about, a large playground area that we've always seen these submissions from Logie that would make sense, but you could really bring science out. If you're going to develop a playground, it could be interesting. Why not integrate little areas hands-on, like you might see in a museum or in a science center, bring it outside.
Yeah.
Right. So have some of the technologies present, have little kiosk type stuff present in a playground, so that you can engage with with the ideas in, I guess, simple but complex ways at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, my vision was, again, with this idea of, being very much interconnected and having and kind of forcing people to cross those bridges that we don't necessarily know that we already know that they don't necessarily cross, because we aren't necessarily, interested in figuring out what's happening over on the other side of the bridge, or, to the other side of the tracks. I think it would be really cool if it was a way to align it similar to the cards that you have done and say, hey, this is our lesson for the year, but we have to travel to, we live in Squirrel Hill, but we have to travel to Homewood to visit this park to learn these kind of things,
Collect all the experience.
That's right.
And that's when we first were brainstorming bringing Wind Nest to Pittsburgh. This is exactly what we thought. So the original partner was an entity downtown, and we're no longer going to be partnered with them for a variety of reasons. So what we thought was, okay, you've got something like a Homewood site, a downtown site, and how do you create this conversation between the neighborhoods? And that was exactly what we were trying to do, is bring people from downtown over to the Homewood installation and bring people from the Homewood installation to downtown.
Right.
Get tourists who are just visiting town who happen to go by this area downtown and then see the other part of this installation is in Homewood neighborhood. Go to Homewood. Here's how you get there.
Yeah.
People who their first day in Pittsburgh, now they're going to Homewood and seeing that the city is a lot more than what they see at the point.
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah, that's really cool. So, are there any other big projects? So how are you really getting, this Pittsburgh project? What's the very next step? Like, and how can people, how can we help? How can I help? Right? How can, we make sure that the art and energy flashcards, right, are recognized, that people know that they're there? What do we do?
Yeah, well, what do? We would love any listener, anyone who has ideas for distribution of the flashcards locally. We really want to tap in to the entire city. We're going to have 1,000 of these cards, actually 700 for Pittsburgh, 300 are going to Denmark. So we're going to have a lot of these, and they're also a free download on the website. So a free PDF download for someone who doesn't necessarily want to reach out to us and wants to just download it onto their computer. It's right there for them. But
landartgenerator.org.
Yes, there you go.
We want anyone to come to us and ask us to come to them. That's what we want.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so the next stage for Wind Nest is that we're actually in production of the prototype right now. Our intent is to travel with it as best we can. It's going to be 1/4 scale of the full installation size, but it's still going to be pretty big. But we do want to take that to schools, to other venues, parks, let kids touch it, learn about it, get an idea of how this thing works, why it looks the way it looks, what the future of it will be. And then we are going to be fundraising for the full installation as well throughout the course of this year. And we expect to break ground on that, all things going well, early summer 2015. Cool. So that's our timeline. Obviously, when the installation is complete, we're going to have programming on the site. People will be able to watch the amount of electricity that it generates in real time and understand how many refrigerators and TVs it will power.
Nice, very nice.
Get a sense of that.
Cool. So another thing that I'm thinking is just like, if we're talking about expanding, and we recently learned, if we didn't already know at the last GPAC event, that Pittsburgh is very much a college town, but we're having a lot of people leaving, and so in talking to one of the lead nurse professors over at Duquesne, it was like, we have to get them early. We have to get those students that are in the nursing department in this particular instance. We have to get them out in the community early so that they can see what they can potentially do, as opposed to waiting later down the line. They're like, well, I have no interest in Pittsburgh anymore, right? So if we're trying to figure out, since this is an educational initiative, it's also connected to art, connected to energy, right? We're interested in having those different clusters. is there a way, or have you thought about a way to kind of dig into all those colleges that are there and available, and saying, hey, like, this is something that you can do that might, kind of keep you local, that might fuel your kind of team capacity?
Well, the fabricator is a CMU grad, and he went out and started his own business a few years ago. So he's not quite fresh out of school, but pretty close. He's someone who decided to stay, not because of this project, but we happen to be working with him, and we want to make strong connections with Pitt, CMU, Duquesne, Point Park, all of the colleges.
Yeah, we do. We don't necessarily know, because we don't have a physical space. We work out of our home. Space like this, the hardware store,
Right.
It has that potential of what you're talking about, to start bringing in people who have just arrived in Pittsburgh. And maybe there's a way in which we can work with some of these incubators to, hold workshops, hold evening events. It's something to brainstorm. What does that look like? How do we really engage with people as they arrive to Pittsburgh?
Yeah, absolutely. So any Duquesne, Point Park, CMU, Carlo, Chatham, it's like, oh my goodness, the list is long. If you're listening, we're interested in your in having your help. We want to see how you can contribute. We know you have the brains, and we know we have a ton of innovators across the city. Jump on. This is an awesome project, folks.
We have had participation from teams from CMU. I don't know about other Pittsburgh universities or
We can
colleges.
actually just now say that because we've closed the jury process, ended today for 2014, but we have a beautiful submission that came from Carnegie Mellon students.
Cool.
So we know that some university level students in Pittsburgh know about the project, but boy, let's get that word out.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
universities around the world are using the design brief itself as their curriculum for their senior studio projects. So that's really great to know.
Yeah.
Because that is engaging with the students. The curriculum that we wrote is being used by dozens of universities, including Georgia Tech, Yale, and others. So that's
Cool.
really good to know.
Yeah.
So we are engaging, but we just haven't met those people personally yet, and that's what we want to change. At this point.
So, we'll have to do a whole tweet and Facebook kind of initiative and say, hey, we got them on camera saying that they need to see you now. So if you've, been introduced to this curriculum, it would be awesome to really connect to you. We have these awesome two in the studio from the Land Art Generator Initiative, Elizabeth Minoyan and Robert Ferry. And it's been awesome, really awesome talking to you. I'm excited that you were here. I usually ask one final question, and this has a lot to do with just because the 2014 Iron Sharpens Iron Summit Tour is about putting the pieces back together, saying these are the different sectors in our community that we would like to be able to come together to create that ecosystem that helps us thrive, not only from the air we breathe and the food we eat and have access to, but the kind of opportunities that are being created, because we know that, having access to high quality programming, high quality educational initiatives, those things are absolutely necessary. So the final question for each of you, I'd like to ask, how do you define community?
Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
Go ahead. That's good. God, wow, what a question.
I think it's on multiple scales. I like to think of it as an onion with many layers, because I think when you look at the planet from the point of view of the Voyager spacecraft, that's a community. And I think we lose sight of that a lot because of our little petty fights and grievances between countries and groups. But we are all one community, and then you can work down from there to every other level. But what's most important about community is that it's permeable, and it is something that can be changing over time, but it's any definition of a group of people who have a common interest and are working together to achieve it.
Cool.
Yeah, I love that. Can I use this answer? But one thing I have really felt over the last few years living out of the country and coming back to Pittsburgh is the complex idea of community. So I really feel right now that I have all of these different communities. I still feel very connected to Dubai and Abu Dhabi and the art world there and the academic world there. And but then we really feel this community of people working with the Land Art Generator Initiative. So we really feel that these 600 teams are our community. And if at any time we wanted to contact someone that has submitted, that there would be a conversation there. So, and then of course we come home to Pittsburgh and our community is family, friends, neighbors, and colleagues. And so, yeah, it's a complex, it is multi-layered.
Absolutely. Cool.
And Pittsburgh is a community that we want to be more actively engaged with.
We feel there's a reason we're building the first land art generator here. This is our home. We feel committed. We feel that we want Pittsburgh to grow exponentially. We want it to be the city in the country to be in. And like people were saying at that event, the GPAC event, yeah, we have crappy weather. That's right, we do. Mm-hmm. And we have things that are a little bit working against us, but we also have so many amazing qualities that other cities don't have. Yeah. And you know, we have to make sure that these young people coming into universities really understand that early on before they take off.
Absolutely.
So,
cool.
And another community is our newsletter community, and we have one coming out tomorrow. So if anybody wants to get it, they can go to our website, landartgenerator.org, and sign up.
Yes, landartgenerator.org. Awesome. So yes, you know, that's, you know, we define community as a working ecosystem. This idea of something that works because everyone included can thrive. They can prosper. The needs are met, and we work together to do that. So a working ecosystem just really there to provide the needs of those that are there, and you are definitely providing a huge need because there are so many communities across Pittsburgh. You know, Pittsburgh will soon go from being, you know, number one in the level of toxins in the community to being the number one green city with more green, you know, buildings and green structures. Fortunately, with the help of Land Art Generator, there'll be more green structures than probably any other city across the nation. So really soon. So it's really exciting to be able to see that transition and just knowing that we're going from a Rust Belt city, right, to one that's highly competitive, that is dealing with, you know, the technology and the art. And I mean, it's so exciting to be able to have those kind of art structures. And I can't wait to see what comes from everything that's being done with LAGI. So I'm really excited. And I'm offering any help. Feel free to come back to Freedom Radio again. Anything that I can do. Again, remember, make sure you're getting in touch with Elizabeth and Robert with the Land Art Generator Initiative, landartgenerator.org. Yep. And make sure that you're getting in touch with us. We want to see you across the city. We'll be at the next GPAC event that's on July 11th. And we'll also be I hope to see some of these people out to the event tonight. I don't know if you're coming back for the small business with big folks kind of meeting that they're having here, but that'll be an opportunity. Come see me. Come take a selfie bomb. I didn't get to take a selfie, so we'll have to take a selfie bomb before we go, because I didn't get to take a selfie with you last time. Come take a selfie bomb. Make sure you're connecting on Facebook, facebook.com, IERN.wills. That's IERN.WILL. We're on Twitter at IERN WILL, IERNWILL. Just make sure you're staying in touch with us, and you can always get us at our blog at thepath.wordpress.com, and that's TheePath.wordpress.com, and that stands for the Holistic Engineering Education path. So that's what we're there for. You know, we got to have it. We are fortunate to have these two in the studio that are doing awesome things. This is your second installment of Freedom Radio, the only broadcast bringing you information for the 2014 Iron Sharpens Iron Summit Tour, because I sharpen you, you sharpen me. We together, we can become, you know, so so sharp and well-rounded to us, so sharp, but well-rounded, you know what I mean? And so that's the hope there. And thank you for listening. It's been awesome. And thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great platform.
Thank you. Yes. And we couldn't do it without Work Hard Pittsburgh. So make sure that you're checking them out at workhardpgh.com. Thanks.